Welcome back to Estate Agency Mastery. Now we have a tech whiz with us today. He's confusing us with branding. Is he Ran? Is he Kerfuffle? Who cares? You're not allowed to sell. Simon, you know the score. Whether you're in Birmingham, Belfast or Bognor Regis, I want 3 pieces of gold from you that we can implement into our estate agencies next week. What have you got for us?
Well, the first one, and thanks, Chris, for obviously having me on, is the first one is about what I think is the most important one of all, which is about reputation, obviously, there. So, look, I know that everybody here will be aware they should be very protective of their brand. And the classic phrase, word of mouth is the best form of advertising or marketing, as they often say, is where I'm coming from on this. There are a million and one tools out there, fantastic tools like 20EA, Spectre, Sprift that help you in terms of monitoring your performance and comparing that to other agents. But it's all about property statistics. It's all about market share. What I find interesting is that we don't do the same around reviews. And there's a whole growing and burgeoning industry around what they call reputation management. Um, and for me, we are actually, and excuse me if I'm going to get kicked off, we are actually really, really shit at promoting ourselves and asking for reviews in this country. And I understand that, but especially on the letting side of things, where it only takes one rogue tenant to kind of give you a negative review, often critiquing you for something that isn't down to you, it might be down to the landlord. So it doesn't matter. Obviously, I'm not allowed to self-promote, but there are a number of different reputation tools out there that will absolutely put your reviews onto steroids and crucially allow you to measure yourself against other agents. And as I said, it doesn't matter whether that's on Google, Facebook, Trustpilot, Estes, any of those different ones there, but you need to get on board one of those because you simply can't ignore how your public see you in terms of whether on Google and everything else. So it's to get serious about your reputation, and we glibly call it mind your own business, but you do need to mind your reputation and look after it. So that's tip number one.
Cool. So there's loads tied up in that. So I, with our agency the other day, had a conversation and they all said, "Oh yeah, it's a bit awkward. We don't like doing it." And you're completely right with your expletive. That is how I see the industry. You invited me to a round table the other day and we had a lot of
Yeah.
time on this. And I said you weren't allowed to promote. You're not, but I will. I know at Kerfuffle you've got a tool where essentially if it's 3 stars or less, you leave it comes internally. If it's 4 or 5 star, it pushes out to a Google or Facebook review. You can't push
Yeah.
it. Other great tools around like that,
And by the
but
way,
it works, right? It's so, and we built that into our own business, and that's what I love about it. It's so clever.
I think for me, there's few people that do their Apple are the classics. You'll get a text message with that one, whether it's a net promoter score out of 10 or star rating. Alex Evans from Estate Apps has similar. It doesn't really matter. Genuinely, I'm just here saying, because what the key thing is, 99% of agents don't do this. But the point about it is, unless you use a tool like that, very few agents actually then automate it. And if you don't automate it, you're very rarely actually asking and getting the amount of reviews you deserve, because you'll know this yourself. The Americans, the Australians, they're absolutely fantastic at asking for it. Unless somebody says, "Oh, that was absolutely brilliant," we don't tend to do the same. And the problem is you're missing out on the quiet majority who actually would be quite happy to give you a review, but you simply haven't asked them. So that's why it's number one. As I said, talk to any of those companies. Just put reputation management in, or go to a certain website and just search for the different options.
It makes complete sense. My takeaway here, if I'm an agent and I don't have that set up, for me, for example, Chris Buckler, the
Yeah.
estate agency where I'm employed, self-employed, you have to go and start building your own personal brand and then set
That's
that Google
critical,
bit up
Chris.
straight away, right?
Yeah, look, the magic of the hybrid, the personal agent model is, of course, is not just about the corporate brand, but what could be more important than your own reputation and your own, how people see you. So the people that definitely do that best are the ones that combine the corporate brand of the estate agency and their own individual brands, and then you've got something really special. Because look at Apple. I just mentioned them. Tim Cook, obviously CEO of Apple, has more followers than Apple itself. People follow individuals more than they do corporate brands.
It's so true. So go and set your Google reviews up, link it to your name at your corporate, and
Yeah.
get some reputation management behind it. I'll leave with this. How many times, if you're listening to this or watching it, has someone gone, "We're not going to buy from you, but you're the best agent we've ever
Yeah.
used"? Thank you
Yeah.
so much. You have to be getting a review from those people. The key here, removing the awkwardness as Brits have, is automation. So thank you.
Good.
I said I wouldn't plug you, but I did. There we go.
Yeah,
Tip
well,
two. Tip
I
two. Now
trapped,
move on.
trapped.
We'll delete that bit out. Tip two. What we got?
You have to do that because we went to school together. Anyway, enough of that. Old Boys Network. Number two is around, and might sound a little bit boring, and you know I'm quite a boring brand. It's starting to take supplier management seriously. So, cost of living crisis is not constrained to individuals and the public. Obviously, we see double-digit price increases, not just from the portals, but from many different suppliers there. And the problem is, often because we're all so busy, I'm talking as agents there, we don't proactively manage those relationships and make sure that we've got the best possible deal there. We wait until the renewal of the contract. Often a auto renewal happens, and you're tied in then to into a new 2, 3, 4 year contract or more, and you've had no ability to make sure that you've actually negotiated and gotten the best deal. And by then it's too late. So it doesn't matter whether you do it through a certain pink company or yourselves, but put in place 3 months before the contract is due to review with every supplier, and get in contact with them and just check that you've got the best possible deal that's going there. And even you might not be able to even get a reduction, but checking that you've got that they've trained you up, that they've given you all the add-ons that you might need to have. Or even if you could just constrain the price increase that they will be doing to everybody else, either getting rid of it entirely or reducing that down, that can be absolutely dramatic, because we focus obviously on the likes of Rightmove as obviously the biggest cost and everything else. But on average, we know that agents have 24 different suppliers from the estate and lettings agency world. Now, 24 different suppliers times by 5, 10, 20% price increases on your monthly spend. That is a serious, serious fee that you are going to passively ignore if you don't take this seriously.
To wipe out your bottom line. It's so tough at the moment. You look, we off line, we talked about Chris Watkin and his consistency, but he keeps putting posts up about how poor estate agents are now compared to in 2008.
Yeah.
And how bad our fees are, and it's so tough. Our margins are so tight. So we can either use a particular pink company, or we can ring up. If you were to ring up, would you do like you do with your mobile phone contract and go, listen, I'm thinking of leaving, or yeah, you hit them, we're off.
Well, again, look, our methodology, and as I said, I'm not selling, Chris, because you can actually do this. You can claim your dashboard free of charge. But regardless of anything, is just have a methodology where every quarter, and it doesn't need to be any more regular than that, you list out all of your suppliers. You yourself and your key members of the team go through and give a net promoter score out of 10 for how that supplier is delivering for you, and be really honest about it. Go back to the supplier then. If it's a 9 or 10, you're probably not going to tell them how fantastic they're doing, because they might see that as an opportunity to increase it. But if it's like middling, like 4, 5, 6, 7, go back to the supplier and say, look, just for whatever reason, it's not delivering at the price point we believed it. So I want to be really, really straight with you. Can we throw some more account management training at this, or let's get it to what we envisaged this was going to be from the beginning. Otherwise, obviously, we're going to need a price point that makes, that changes that expectation level. Or being really, really honest, we're just waiting for somebody else to come along with a similar product at a better price point. And I think you can be really honest on that, and you can have some good conversations. Because one of the biggest things you'll see, Chris, you'll know this here, is a lot of different products start off in a very, in a unique space. They do stuff very differently. They obviously enhance their offering, and then they start to look very similar to what other products that you might be using. And it's not unusual for us when we're doing reviews to find agents have got 3 or 4 products that essentially are doing much the same thing. Now that's insanity, isn't it? That just because whilst prop tech is cheap, and often it's often under £75 per office per month, or but it's not cheap if you're not using it and you're not getting satisfaction out of it, especially when you times that by 24.
Yeah, makes complete sense. I had one the other day with a supplier. I won't say who, but I mentioned one of their competitors, and they are falling over to help me with automations and all sorts.
Yeah.
But I like
Yeah.
it. Third and
I
final.
think be really honest and don't be just sorry, you're going to get a like Steve Jobs, you're going to get a bonus one from
Oh,
me.
go on.
Don't be afraid to use your brand and literally some of the best agents I know don't treat their suppliers as, as a pain in the arse, but actually really go out of your way. You can't do it with all of them, but with your best suppliers, treat them as, partners to the business rather than suppliers. Use your own brand and say, look, guys, I really want to shout about you as much as we can do. So if you get us happy, we will do video testimonials. We will happily be on your black book to talk to. And that's when the suppliers will often cut you a deal and extract more juice from the lemon than you would ordinarily be able to do. So don't forget the value of your own brand because a B2B review is worth its weight in gold.
You know, I may be the face of an Aussie CRM or have been last year, one of three.
Yeah.
For that exact that exact bit, right? How do we form a win-win? All right, third and final, what we got?
Yeah, ironically, for anybody who knows me and how dishevelled and disorganized I am, it's around time. It's around time management, really. And this is again, I obviously come at it from the supplier side of things. It's about how you choose to roll out projects. And one of the things we see a lot is that a lot of suppliers fail in a pilot or when they go live, not because the product wasn't right for them, ironically. It's because often the agency has got a bit too happy clappy and has tried to roll out too many suppliers at the same time. The staff don't have the bandwidth, and so it just doesn't get adopted there. So treat it really, really seriously. I think you can probably roll out a new supplier every 2 to 3 months and do it justice and really embed it so that you don't have that classic thing you'll have heard it a million times. Oh, we only use about 50 or 60% of the product. That's not good enough. It goes back to that problem before. You're only ever going to score it a 5, 6, 7 there. So getting the penetration of usage, make sure that you are using as much of these key partners as you can do. Treat it like that and look across the year, like 2025. Classically now we're coming up to the end of the year and say, actually, these are the 4 or 5 products that I think we need to be looking at. They should probably look at it sequentially. So if you were like looking, for example, CRM needs to probably be rolled out before you start looking at everything else. And that gives you a greater degree of structure and control over the course of the year. And will I guarantee make your tech stack be a tight tech stack rather than what so often is the case, a Jenga pile with just stuff piled on top of each other and as fragile as we know that particular game to be.
So if you're a neg listening to this and you've got lots of tech rolling out and maybe your leadership, your management aren't doing a great job of it, what would you suggest the neg does?
Sorry, you cut up there. Sorry,
Oh,
I didn't catch that. Just say,
that's all right. Say if we just got to stare at your beautiful face for 3 seconds. That'll bring
yeah.
us podcast ratings. Say if you're a neg and you listen
Yeah,
to this and you're going, my management keep just putting new tech in. I don't really understand it. I haven't got time because I don't
yeah,
get paid on understanding this tech. I
yeah.
get paid on selling. What would your advice for those guys be? Would it be come from curiosity? Actually, go and learn the tech yourself. How would you look at
That's
that?
always great. Ultimately, it's especially in your model, it's about your business as much as theirs. So you need to be really honest. Don't be a negative ninny. Nobody likes that. I told you so. It wasn't going to work. But give them really honest feedback. And one thing we encourage business owners to do is make not to go for suppliers voting by committee, but actually to do polls every year to go out to your team and say, look, XYZ supplier, what do you think of it? And for you to get a survey back of all the people there and get a really honest net promoter score, average customer score there, and then find out that's the first conversation then to have with the supplier, isn't it? Say, look, we take this really seriously. We want this to work. How do we get that there? And then, often that will open up other conversations. You'll be able to find out, okay, you only scored XYZ supplier 4 out of 10. What can we do better to make that, to improve on it? Because we obviously want to make sure you are getting value for money out of it.
Nice. Okay, I'm going to curveball you here with 2 last questions. Outside of the UK,
Yeah.
who do you think operationally via their what business do you know that has, and you don't have to talk about their stack, but operates the best in the world, and we should all be following them on socials? Who would that be?
Oh, what in terms of an agency?
Yeah.
Uh, Well, I think over in Dubai, Allsop and Allsop are a fantastic agency. Two Brits, expats over there. They do their offices are a thing to be just to be wowed at, as you could expect. Over in Australia, this. I mean, Australia is just the perfect combination. I think. I mean, it's obviously supported by their vendor paid advertising, which obviously supports the model. But from a marketing perspective, and because of the innovative tech that they get out there, there's any number of businesses. Cobden and Hayson. I don't think there's any better boutique estate agency in Australia over there. What else there? Marshall White in Melbourne are a fantastic agency as well. Alexander Phillips. I mean, the names just roll off the tongue for you there, but they have a lot of really, really exciting tech that I think is a little bit ahead of the curve here in many respects because it does do things like it focuses not just on the corporate but also on the individual, which I think is where we are seeing a trend move to, aren't we?
Fine. And then last question, if there was a bit of tech we don't have here that you
Yeah.
think, oh, I'd love to bring it over, it works so well, what is that tech and what does it do?
That's a really interesting one. Um, there's a few there. So well, I'll give you a couple. Active Pipe, I really like. They did come to the UK a while ago, sort of a email nurture tool. I think that's very good. I think it was probably a little bit too early because
We
it was
weren't ready
more.
for it. We were. It was a cracking product. It was
It was
so.
cracking, and they then got a lot of attention in America, and actually have just been doing great guns over there. So I think that's an interesting one to keep an eye on. And then there's another one over there that at the moment is only being rolled out to Ray White, but they are looking at the UK, which is called Nurture Cloud. Again, a AI based machine learning nurture tool that has moved Ray White's market share by 3 to 4 percentage points, which when you know that Ray White I think have 1,300 offices, 200,000 managed properties in Australasia there. I mean, when you are moving their market share by 1%, that is a staggering business there. So that's one that I would be saying keep your eye on if they're going to do anything.
Nice. Simon, thank you so much for your time. I look forward to getting you back on.
Yeah, great stuff. Lovely to have you.